Alien Storm was released in arcades in 1990. It utilised the Sega System 18 hardware, being one of its, at least from what I could find out, 9 games, though I did find another source that listed 10. But anyway. This colourful and interesting beat-em-up part shooter is eye-catching and strangely addictive. There have been numerous ports across home consoles, and in this video we'll be looking at the Master System and Megadrive versions as well as the original arcade version. Alien Storm was born of Sega's AM1 studio, also known as Team Shinobi. Other popular titles by them include its namesake Shinobi, Golden Axe, and Altered Beast, to name but a few. This studio produced many excellent Sega games through the 80s and 90s, and we'll be sure to take a look at others in future videos. So Alien Storm, according to the arcade version at least, follows 3 alien busters who in their spare time run a fast food van. Their van doubles as their response vehicle for alien attacks and the current alien invasion. Gordon, Kalra and Scooter are the 3 selectable characters, though their names seem to vary between regions and ports. Gameplay is much like Golden Axe, though at first that would not be readily apparent. Each character has a host of both melee and ranged weapons. Depending on your distance to an enemy will depend on the type of weapon used. You can also destroy projectiles if you time the attacks precisely, though this could also be part of the temporary invulnerability provided on certain animation frames. Movement is much faster paced than Golden Axe. There is a dash button that can be used instead of tapping twice in a given direction. Special attacks can be used at any time as long as you have sufficient energy. They are used, as you would expect, to clear the screen and do big damage to boss enemies. Energy is rather interesting as it's not only required for special attacks but also basic attacks. So if you just keep spamming your special ability, you'll soon find your character resorting to simply bashing the alien's brain with their gun. Gameplay is further mixed up with the first-person shooting gallery levels and side-scrolling shooter levels. We'll look at the FPS levels first, as they are a core part of the game, and I think another reason this game stands out to others of the period. If you've played any shooters such as Virtua Cop, Time Crisis or Duck Hunt, then the premise is going to be familiar to you. Dispersed through the game are these FPS stages. They provide an opportunity to gather extra energy. Of course, you still have to be careful as you can end up using too much energy while shooting, therefore handicapping you for later stages. Most objects and scenery are destructible. The alien types vary between ranged and melee attackers, some just scuttle left and right. Larger aliens provide further bonus to your energy at the end of a stage. They often spawn many smaller aliens, so there's plenty of incentive to take them out as quickly as possible. You have to make sure you don't hit any civilians running through these stages, as they will cost you a life, though you'll probably learn that the hard way. In fairness, with regard to civilians, the game is pretty lenient on your targeting of them. More often than not, you'll just end up missing them. The side-scrolling stages of the game consist of you running madly through the level, shooting and dodging aliens. The penultimate level of the arcade version has you chasing and shooting down the alien landing ship. These different stages really help with breaking up any monotony and keeping interest. This moves us on to the next topic, the ports. Having played the Megadrive version first, I was actually surprised how good it was upon playing the arcade version. As good as the port is though, it really does not do the arcade version its full justice. The Master System version, well, we'll get to that later. Let's keep looking at the Megadrive version first. And boy do I love this box art. It's just so awesome. They just don't do them like this anymore. This version is the closest of the two to the arcade. Similar graphics, sound and music. There is even a nice added option for rapid fire, which is a godsend for RSI sufferers on the FPS and shmup type levels. Again, there are 3 characters to choose from, but no intro sequences. I know they add nothing to the gameplay, but their absence really takes from the game in my opinion, as the game is seemingly more serious when going with the Megadrive over the arcade version. The stages are essentially the same, though there seem to be fewer FPS stages and they slot in an additional stage before the final level. Order of the stages has also been altered. The barn FPS level appears at the end of the first stage here rather than being one of the last in the arcade version. As in the arcade version you start in the city rather than the countryside. Oddly, the mission complete screen is missing here. No bonuses for energy or stats for the number of aliens. Unlike the arcade version though, you have an opportunity to get health pickups. Enemies look and behave much the same, though there are some missing. The first level alien pizza things are absent. The various enemies in the FPS stages are missing too, so there is less variety. The large aliens are there, but they don't spawn smaller ones. These stages are definitely less fraught than the arcade equivalents. The final difference I noticed were the boss fights. There are 3 including the final FPS boss in both versions, though their locations differ as well as the number of phases. On the Megadrive version, the action stage bosses have 2 phases, whereas the arcade boss has 3. I suppose the plus with the Megadrive version is there's a bit more variety, but overall it's not a big thing. It seems a lot of the changes in the Megadrive version stem from technical limitations. At a guess, maybe cartridge memory space limitations, as this was released early on in the Megadrive's life cycle. I have to say that I think the Megadrive version is a very good port. Keeps 90% true to the original and retains the strangely addictive gameplay. Checking out the Meme Machine's review of the time, they seemingly had a positive opinion of Alien Storm too. According to their article, there are regional differences in the difficulty. They rated Alien Storm as pretty easy, but the Japanese version is apparently even more so, offering players up to 7 continues. So yeah, it's interesting to see a reaction from the time of release. The Master System, on the other hand, doesn't fare quite so well. The graphics are pretty well converted, everything is recognisable, but the gameplay is honestly infuriating. Enemies are more aggressive and jump on you almost relentlessly. Approaching enemies in this version without them attacking and hitting you is very tricky. I failed hard with getting very far in this version. The Mega Drive version is definitely on the easy side, but even so, this just isn't fun. The FPS stages only get worse. The rate at which you can shoot is simply not fast enough to hit everything. At least for me it wasn't. The stages are overwhelming and not in a good way like the arcade version. They were challenging but doable. These again just make me want to rip my hair out. The accuracy is also irritatingly imprecise. Moving the targeting cursor is just way too slow. I mean, ugh. The Master System version can be forgiven for having basic graphics, but the gameplay? Just don't bother. Stick to the arcade or Mega Drive versions. So, if you're a Golden Axe fan, and like other Sega classics, Alien Storm will not disappoint. It's got great art style, addictive gameplay, and a really quirky sense of humour. The arcade version is head and shoulders above versions such as the Master System. I think if you want the best experience, crack out a MAME emulator and get blasting. The Mega Drive definitely does the game justice, and so you can't really go wrong there either. But anyway, I'll leave you with the arcade's ending sequence. It is both beautiful and magnificent. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give the like button a bash. Subscribe for more and comment below if you've played any versions of Alien Storm. Do you think the Master System version is infuriating as I found it? Anyway, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.